It looks like we got two people in there. Hello,
And
hello, everyone.
hello.
I hope you're ready to talk about Wuthering Heights. As always, we do have some games prepared, but this one is going to be more discussion leaning. So, to talk about Wuthering Heights.
Is that you?
I always forget to check it, and then it goes, and then it doesn't.
It's a little. You can tell how much of a delay we're on in case
Yes.
we say something stupid. You have that long to cut it. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh man. Oh, but yeah, we got a couple of games too. Well, no, one game and then memes. And but it's going to be mostly discussion. It is just going to be me and Kelly tonight. Our other host unfortunately had a family emergency, so she wasn't able to come. But we'll have her again in the future, so it's fine. Y'all will get to meet her at some point. But anyway, Kelly, if you want to just tell people who you are in case they haven't seen you yet.
Yeah, I'm Kelly, and I am an eclectic reader. I love classics, so that's how Heather and I kind of got connected with this. And I met her. I think I commented on your newbie tag, and that's how we initially kind of met. And then you tagged me in was it your bullet train tag?
Yes, yes. And
Which
you
I
did
was like,
so good. I was
that
like,
was like
stop.
that was one of the most intense tags I've ever been tagged in. But I was like, okay, hold my tea. Let me see if I can pull this off.
Oh man, I was so shocked by how you were able to take the questions that seemed like maybe they would lend towards maybe action thriller type genres,
Yes.
and you were able to recommend classics. And I was like, this is awesome.
I read it all. I read, what I read YA. I read lots of fantasy middle grade and I also have kids that are in that age. So I do a lot of classics. I'm trying to do more. I have committed to reading Crime and Punishment in 2023. So, but yeah, I love mysteries. I've done a couple of Agatha Christie here recently. So I'm pretty eclectic. So I
One
do
coming
almost
out.
everything on my channel except hauls. I've done one
Yeah.
haul, the library haul, but yeah.
There's an Agatha Christie, like Miss Marple anthology that's coming out.
That'll
And
be awesome.
it has like 12 different popular authors. One of them is Lee Bardugo, that's going to be doing an Agatha Christie style story.
Yes.
So I'm like, this could
That'll
be
be
an interesting
awesome. That'll be
collection.
interesting. I really enjoy Lee Bardugo. I love like the whole Grisha thing. I wasn't big on the Ninth House. I don't know if did you read the Ninth House?
DNF.
I got through it, but I wished I had DNF because like it went some places I was like, this is too far. This is too far. But I
Stephen
was
King
interested.
blurbed it. He said he liked it. It was on his favorites books list
Yeah.
from like where
Yeah.
he had made a quote about it, and he was like incredible, or it was like a really cool review.
I think I'm just interested where it's going. So I think I'll read just spoilers about the next book. I don't want to experience
Hellbent or
reading that
whatever it's
again.
called.
Yes, but yeah, it'll
Ooh,
be interesting
cover.
to see what Lee Bardugo does with like Agatha Christie style stuff. I loved all the Grisha stuff, and I enjoyed the Netflix show. So, have you
Yeah.
seen the Shadow and Bones
Mhm.
Netflix show?
And
I thought they did pretty good.
I've read all the books except for the spinoff with Nikolai Carpathia
Okay,
or whatever his name is.
that that one was. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I'll be honest, it's like fanfic for the Grishaverse. It's like, let's take everything the fans will want us to do and let's just write a book about it. So if you just barely like the Grishaverse, if you're one of those that's just not your thing, I don't think like most of the people that just like are fairly interested like it. But if you're like a big Grisha fan, which I was, I enjoyed it, but
he
it's
was my
not.
favorite character, so I'm
Yes, and
hoping
so
I
you
like
get his wit and his humor and the depth of who he like. There's something deeper there too than but yeah, I did feel like I think the last one was Rule of Wolves. I think was the second one in that duology, and that one was just like, oh wow, this is like Grishaverse fanfic. Just give us
everyone is in it.
everything we want.
You know, there was, without giving any spoilers for people that haven't watched it, there was 2 people that were always shipped with Elena, and of course she winds up with one of them.
Yes.
But I didn't want her with either of them. I
You
wanted
didn't?
her with Nikolai.
See, I did
He was
think that
funny,
was
and I
pretty
like the
interesting.
humorous guys.
It, you know, um, I have heard, like, I don't know if you've ever watched Clockwork Reader. She's a booktuber that I really enjoy. And she had read it and been like, "Ugh, there's nobody to really, ship for her."
Yeah.
And then she reread it before the series and she's like, Alina, and now all the way, she just like, so sometimes I feel like that's a series that like you have to kind of like marinate in your mind for a while to decide how you feel about the relationships. But yeah,
And then
I,
going into it and
I,
knowing how hard people shipped her with, you know who.
yes.
Well,
Oh
so
my
I was expecting,
goodness.
I was like, but also there was such an age gap there. I was like, it's kind of inappropriate.
Yes, because she was actually a teenager, wasn't
Yeah.
she? And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, and sometimes
It doesn't look weird with the actors. I think they did a good job
no,
with
that it
them.
was fine. Yeah, he was young enough that, you know,
But
uh,
in the book, I'm reading him as like this person that could be her dad.
yes, exactly, exactly.
That's what happens when the largest demographic of YA readers is actually women between the ages of 25 and 40. And I don't think a lot of people know that. But I
Yes,
think that indie
it's
authors know that because they look at their own analytics, whereas when you have a publisher, they're the ones who are
yes,
looking at all the information. And
yes,
so because they know that, then you have people like Jennifer L. Armentrout, who has been an indie for a long time, as well as traditionally published. They
yeah.
take that information and they're like, hey, teenagers don't have credit cards. So I can write teenage kids in adult situations
Yes.
and write it
Although
toward the
one
teen
the reason I
serial
think I
killer.
love YA fantasy with a romance element is because I am not a smut reader, and so they don't go quite that far, but I can have like romance, and it's not like I'm actually myself going to like fall
Yeah.
in love with that teenager, because also like middle-aged women here, that would be a little bit inappropriate.
But you
Yes.
insert your mind into the age of the current character.
Yes, exactly. You
Like take yourself
become
back to
the
how you were
teenager,
at that
how you
time.
were. Like, yes, so many of them, it's like, they might have like the girl that's not necessarily popular or whatever. And then like the popular guy, and it's like, what teenage girl is
Didn't
that
have
not
that
like their
fancy. Yeah.
fantasy?
Or the older brother trope. That was my biggest, like
Yes.
with Bring It On. I loved that. I was like, yes, yes.
Yes.
You always wanted to have like the friend with the older brother.
Yeah, although I think like a lot of parents like avoid the sleepovers when there's the older brother going to be in the house. It's like in real life, it's like, is her brother gonna be home?
Y'all are just getting the show right away here. But we do have a couple of people here. So Myra's going to be back. She might be back already for all I know.
Yeah.
Of course, we have Maria
Hi,
um,
Maria
and Nicole.
and Nicole. Yay.
Love the Grishaverse. Red Crime and Punishment. Absolutely
Oh,
love.
yay. I can't
I
wait.
I am going to be reading some classics with Nicole because she's going to be doing serial.
Yes. I'm excited for that. Some of that too, Nicole. Can't wait.
So I was like, I've got an edition of The Count of Monte Cristo that I haven't read yet. So I was like, I've only ever read the unabridged version that was like 500 pages. I haven't read the like 1200 page one.
I don't know if I can go through that again, to be honest with you.
I really love
It's
the abridged
awesome.
version.
It's awesome, but it was like one of those things. It's like there are some books, like, and also another excellent French author. I don't think I could do Les Miserables again because it was so beautiful and wonderful, but I'm like, it was just so much. It was just so overwhelming. That one isn't nearly as long as Count of Monte Cristo.
That's why I'm glad she's doing it serialized because I also
Yes.
don't think I would have the patience to
Yes.
read it in one go.
No. Oh gosh,
Mm.
yeah. That's a lot. And then you don't want to like let go of other books. You want to be able to do some like fun stuff too. And that's I'm going to be doing some more serious books in 2023, but I'm also like, I've gotten so booktube focused that like I'm like I just want to read some fun silly books too.
I have even thought about, I haven't told anyone this, but I've even
Oh, are we getting
having,
inside secrets?
I've thought about having a second channel.
Girl, I don't know how you have the time to do all you do.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I'm thinking about possibly doing a second one, because I have so much content and y'all don't even see all of the ideas that I have, but it would just be way too much. Like way too much for one channel to handle. Like
Yeah,
notifications would be ridiculous. So I was like, if I had a channel for like sci-fi and fantasy,
that'd
and
be fun.
then I don't know if I should include romance as well. So you're kind of getting like the most genre-y ones.
Yeah.
And then looking at the subscribers and the demographics that I have on here, I'm actually surprised that the majority of people are actually males. So
Really?
most of them aren't public, but the computer knows. So I don't ever see them because their subscriptions are private,
Yeah.
but it's like 60% guys. And I was like, okay, well, that kind of makes sense considering that the people that I first started making connections with read a lot of like classic books, mystery, thriller, suspense, stuff like that. And I was also doing book club fiction. So I was reading like The Killing Floor by Jack Reacher and stuff like that. So I'm like, and also looking at my subscribers channels, because I've went through and all the ones that are public, I've actually went subscribed to them and started watching their content.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I'm kind of forming my basis of like who's watching, what
Yeah.
are they really interested in. And
Yeah.
aside from a couple of creators, most of them would be classics, historical fiction, mystery, thriller, suspense, kind of like your darker stuff. um so I've considered kind of like really honing in on that on this channel,
Yeah.
and then having another channel that's like very much so like fangirly almost with a
Yeah.
sci-fi fantasy and maybe some romance in there. And I would even do stuff like Book Boyfriend, where you're like just going into the characteristics of each person and like the
Yeah.
couple. Um,
Yeah.
or maybe even a channel that's all spoilers. So it's like your big fandoms that have been out for several years, but I would be reading them for the first time and just making like fan type content.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be like, who's gonna die in the Hunger Games? Which I've already read the Hunger Games, but I have not read all of Throne of Glass. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where the thoughts stemmed from, was like, I've
Yeah.
got all of these series that were published like in 2015 that still have these large fandoms, but there's certain readers that are maybe like your actual YA readers that are like 13 years old to 18. And I don't see them having a lot of content anymore, because when
Yeah.
books started, it was mostly for the young adult readers who were teenagers.
Yeah.
And that's why your big creators, that's kind of what they catered to.
I know.
And
And
then
now
it
they're
grew.
30 and they're
Yes.
still that's what they're a lot of what they're still talking about.
Yes. It's just different demographics, and I am a marketing type person. Like I got a marketing degree. So I'm like, I think it would be fun to kind of test out a different framework, because I am a
Yeah.
very creative person. But at the same time, I still like doing some of the standard stuff as well. So it may even be that I still do everything that I'm doing currently on this channel, still include all the genres, and then just have another one that's like everything is super original and creative
Yeah.
that nobody else has done. So it's like, I just think it could be fun. Um, but
That'll
even
be
the titles
interesting.
for the videos might be a little spoilery, because I'd be like, so and so and so and so. What's the dirt on Tamlin? Like,
Yeah.
so I don't know exactly how that would work out. I don't know. It's a thought. But anyway, we
Yeah.
should probably talk about Wuthering
Yes. Let's go. Let's do it.
Oh man, Nicole is like 2 channels are harming. Exactly, which is why it's only been a thought, and I've made one video that would go on that channel if I were to do it. So I don't know if I'm gonna do it or not, but we'll see.
Nicole would be the one to talk to because she does it.
Yeah, with the sewing.
Yeah, with her crafting channel.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the be Mad Lib.
All right, let's do it.
All right, y'all. So throw in your answers in the comments and I will pop them in here. So I am going to need a city, an action verb, a thing, a famous building or house, another adjective, a couple of personality traits, well, a lot of personality traits, and a couple of emotions. So y'all just throw those in there and I'll tell you what I still need as you give me answers. I figured I'd just give them all at the front, and then if there's one you really like, you can go ahead and put it in. But yeah, this one should be interesting. So I had to make this Mad Lib myself because there wasn't one that someone else had already done. So all I did was I took the blurb of the book and I changed things.
I'm interested to see how this is going to work out.
I was like, my thing with Mad Libs is you always give the most ridiculous answers possible because that's what's going to make it funny.
Oh, absolutely.
So anytime they ask for a person, I'd be like, George Washington, like just something out there. Sewing and books. I had to split my sewing channel as I was talking books, so I split the two. It's hard work. Yeah, which is one of the reasons why I'm like, I don't really know if I want to do it. I could just kind of start doing it on here. But my husband did tell me that YouTube punishes you when you post more than 2 videos a day or within a 24-hour period. So like if I had a video come out today and then I had a live and then I did like a minute short, it would actually affect my channel.
Interesting.
So Armistice. This is a city on the moon. I will put it in there.
I had no idea the moon had a city.
Me either.
I'm learning science.
Artemis. I was saying Armistice.
Artemis. Like Artemis Fowl.
Oh. And there's the Artemis, the book from Andy Weir.
Oh yeah. I have yet to read Andy Weir. I think I will enjoy him from just people that read similarly to me. He is definitely on the list of authors I'm going to try in 2023.
If you don't mind a lot of description.
Oh, girl, I'm a world building description person.
Then you should like it. A lot of people, the math stuff just went over their head when it came to.
Well, that would go over my head too, because I'm definitely,
because there was a lot of it.
Can't remember much past basic algebra.
Yeah. But like the math and science to me was actually what made the story as funny as it got to be, because he would tell you how things could go wrong. And sometimes it wouldn't go wrong, but you would be so tense as he was doing this like meticulous thing that would have been boring if you didn't know that it could kill him. So, and then when stuff did blow up, you understood why, or you're like, oh, he didn't calculate this. That's why. So it made the book better.
Yeah.
And I liked it better than the movie. So,
yeah.
I mean, Andy Weir rules. I was actually referring to that city in the book.
So is it real or is it fake? They fake? Okay. I was going to say, like, wouldn't it be interesting if like they've designated parts of the moon like a city? Because clearly no one can sustain life there long term.
See, and that's what's hard for me, because I'm like, I've got all these different ideas. So it's like one video a day, but I have these big projects too that I want to do. So like if I read a series, instead of including it in a wrap up where it's like book 4, I could like do a whole series review. So those are like long-term projects.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting too. So I don't really know exactly how I want to do it right now. Because it could just be that on this channel, I do the Monday reviewing where I tell you what's coming out. And then I do a wrap up because I read a lot of books. So I've got all the genres, and then maybe do one project video and then do a different channel for all the other stuff.
Yeah. Do you batch film?
Yes. Well, I just film whenever. Just if I had a shower that day, I film. No.
Yeah. I typically batch film, like, I do my booktubers to watch Wednesdays. I have something on Tuesday that may be a tag and maybe like more review-y type thing. And then Friday is like, usually like either wrap up or TBR or something. But and that usually works great to do it like a week and a half in advance or something like that. But here lately, it's just been so busy just with the holiday season and parenthood, and like I have to do all these things and still somehow feed them and everything, that I've just been like, okay, I'm in the car and I'm by myself running to get my Target pickup order. And so here we go. Let's film something really fast. And I don't like functioning like that. I'm a planner in advance person, but it's actually been kind of fun to have to be fly by the seat of my pants a little bit. So
Yeah.
a video was a little early on Wednesday just because I couldn't schedule it because it was like 2 hours before it was supposed to come on. So it was
And
just
I
a
do
couple
that
hours
sometimes
early.
where I'm like, I wanted to make this video today. I haven't done it yet. And then I film it at 6:00 and then just post it right after.
Yeah, I did not do that until here very recently. It took me several months to kind of get to that point, but it was just like either keep making videos and like do it fly by the seat of your pants, or stop for a couple months because I was just so October through December has just been with parenthood just been crazy. It's just like, but right now things are very, very relaxed. So today at least.
That's good. You have an action verb?
Halt.
And I need a thing, like a physical object.
Someone giving you that, or I can give it to you.
If you've got one. And then y'all in the
Piano.
comments, if you can start giving me some personality traits and some emotions, that's what I'm going to have later on. And a famous building or a house.
So object, piano.
Okay, I like that one. Okay, and then we've got flower on here. I can see if I can find something for that. I can add a Y to it and make it flowery.
Yeah, perfect.
Empire State Building. Love it. Okay.
That's what I was thinking too.
All right. I need a personality trait. I'm going to need like five traits or adjectives. It's mostly adjectives and traits left, and emotions, a couple of emotions.
Selfish.
I like that. I'm going to make the selfish be one of the traits. Quirky.
I love it. That's one of my favorite words in general. I just love quirky.
Emotion loopy. Ooh. Okay.
That's a good one.
Need another emotion. Another emotion, another adjective, and 3 more traits. It was like, this was a big one.
Emotion. Excited.
Okay. All right. So a couple traits and an adjective.
Personality trait. Does you have anybody? I can't see. How about personality trait? Benevolent.
What does that mean?
It means you're generous, charitable. You can put generous, charitable.
It's funny because it actually fits with where I put it. Visionary, funny, fun, Grinchy.
Grinchy. Oh, that's so perfect for Christmas time.
Yes. Give me some weird ones, like something that you wouldn't normally think of, because that's what makes these funny. So I need one more Give me like a really off the wall personality trait. Like the Grinchy.
Trying to think. You come up with one, Heather.
Okay.
Give us a good personality trait. That's weird.
I don't
Sorry.
know.
Sorry to put the pressure on.
Maybe nerdy or
Nerdy. Yeah,
yeah,
nerdy or
nerdy. All right, are y'all ready for this?
I'm
Let me
ready.
make sure I got them all. I think I did. Yeah, I got them all. Okay, so here is what we have rewritten Wuthering Heights to be about. Lockwood, the new tenant of Thrushcross Grange, situated on the bleak Artemis Moors, is forced to halt piano one night at Empire State Building, the home of his landlord, where he discovers the history of the flowery events that took place years before, of the intense relationship between the nerdy Heathcliff and Catherine Earnshaw, and how Catherine, forced to choose between selfish, quirky Heathcliff and generous, grinchy Edgar Linton, surrendered to the expectations of her class as Heathcliff's loopy and excited at his betrayal is visited upon the next generation. Their euphoric heirs must struggle to escape the legacy of the past.
Love it.
These are always
that would definitely be a more interesting book in places.
It's like if you had just put Grinchy and switched it to be for Heathcliff,
yeah,
Edgar, it would
Edgar
have
is
worked.
not Grinchy. That's funny.
All right, so now we've got some memes. I got to do the share screen, and we will get into the discussion portion. Everyone's had plenty of time to show up, so we're gonna get into some spoils now.
Yes,
we're just going straight for the spoils. All right. So we got some memes going on. This meme is always used everywhere.
Yes.
But it works. Especially in the movie. Yeah. I think we see this more so in the movie.
That was like, yes. Yeah. The movie was uncomfortable in some places.
Heathcliff being charming to Isabella, and he's got a knife. And this is from a show that's called like "I'm Gonna Kill You" or something. Where he's trying to murder this girl, but then he falls in love with her. So
that's like even more so again the movie, I think, than the book.
Yes. He was so abusive in that movie.
Yeah, it's just like I don't understand why in the movie why anyone would love him for any reason whatsoever when he became an adult. So yeah.
Wuthering Heights. Wuthering Heights if Kathy and Heathcliff could communicate. Because, I mean, it is true. Because they wouldn't have had the whole revenge plot that happens in the end of the book if she had just been like, yes, I am in love with you, Heathcliff.
Yeah.
Let's just get married, even though
just run away. Just run away and be poor together.
Oh, man. Read fine books. He was abusive in the book as well.
Yeah, he was. But, you know, in the movie that we watched, he was abusive, like, you know, when they were, like, seeing each other before they got married. He was, like, pushing her into a tree, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, was not the best person. When a book has too many characters to keep track of, it's just like, I don't know who you are. I don't know who you're supposed to be. That was me, because when they had the kid, Catherine, I was like, are we going back in time to see their childhood? And Heathcliff just got like a new name. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I got some of the kids' names mixed up sometimes. I didn't get the actual characterization of them mixed up. It's just like, okay, Henley was which one again? And yeah.
Nicole says that this was my first time reading this, and I don't know what I was expecting, but I was not expecting what I read.
Yeah, it's just it's not a romance.
I
Like
thought it was going to
we
be a sad love story. I didn't know that it was going to be this revenge plot.
it's a it's a character study of these weird people, basically. And I'm here for that. But a lot of people, they think that it's going to be like the ultimate love story, and it's just not that. It's not. So, yeah, you either, some people are kind of in the middle, just liking it. You either love it or hate it. This was actually my third read through. I
Oh,
think I
wow.
will. I think I enjoy the most like the
Kid portion.
telling, well, the kids portion, but I also just like the telling of the story and the way Nellie relays the story. I think that's one of my favorite parts of it. And so yeah. But yeah, there's some things that could have definitely, I think, been done better, or been developed a little bit more. But I am not. I mean, I enjoy when I have had the opportunity to write in school and things like that, but I'm not a writer, so I'm not going to sit here and dump on Emily Bronte's choices because she's obviously, you know, she did a good job, but it just was some things I wish would have been developed more, which I think we discussed last time, and we can get into that probably a little bit more. But like the ghost thing, I think we both, when I originally
Thought
read it,
that
I
the story was
thought,
going to be
I
that.
hoped that, there would be a little bit more creepiness throughout. I don't like downright horrific, but it would have been nice if there would have been a little bit more of a creepiness factor with the ghost thing throughout the book. So it's a trauma study, growing up without a mother. Yeah, I mean, that's so true. Yeah.
I have my thoughts on the video, and I'm trying to edit to make sense of my feelings.
Yeah.
The movie, I think, made me like the book more, because I just kind of got the characters better in my head.
Yeah. Like in the time, and maybe the timeline too of the
Yeah.
beginning part of it. I think that the movie does a good job of kind of setting up the timeline. The only thing that the movie like does is it doesn't show how young they were when like she got married to Edgar and he went away. They were young when that happened, and in the movie they look like they're about 35 years old. So
Yeah,
like,
because I was thinking, I was like, "Oh, she's getting married to this dude," but, like, she had just got caught peeping through his windows with Heathcliff. Like, they were
yes.
still little kids.
Yeah, they were young. I mean, and yes, they did get married young back then, but it's like you have to remember it's just like they were like babies, when they got married. So, I don't know. I think she was probably like 17 or something like that. So,
I would say it's also looking at the debate, nature versus environment with children, but then
mhm.
again, that could just be because I'm in the middle of that sort of thing.
I think it is. It's a study of that. Like Heathcliff didn't really turn until the dad dies, and then the brother takes over the state and he starts getting abused, and he was still a child when that happened. So there was no finishing off of his upbringing, and he never had like a mother figure, like because the wife was like not interested in him. She like thought he was like a gutter snipe, and was not interested in parenting him. And
In the movie, it makes it seem like he is the illegitimate
yes,
child.
and that's a question that I think we ask in the book, but it doesn't go there as much. Like it doesn't right out and out ask that question like it did in the film. Um, but I don't think when I was in high school and I read it the first time that really came to my mind. I thought, but now I really think that this could be the case.
Because why else would he just bring home a random child? But at the same time, This is not the only book that's done that, because when I read Frankenstein, she kept bringing home these random children. She's like, "Oh, they're pretty. I want them," and she would just take these kids. So I'm like, who knows? Hopefully it wasn't, because then that would have been totally incestuous. But I mean,
True, and that
they
would,
already
and I'm
married their
glad that
children.
that's why I'm
So I
glad they
mean,
don't right out say that anytime in the book. You know, it's just we wonder that just because it is such a random thing to bring home a child. But you know, it who knows? He could have just had a tender-hearted moment, and it's so different, you know, now. But like, it's not like there were, you know, orphanages were not a good place like they are now for the most part, and kids were just like left to fend for themselves if they, you know, lost their parents. It's just horrific to think of that, but it's true, you know. So um it's like even with the abuse, it's like it makes you question, did he have a better life at Wuthering Heights even after the dad died and he was abused and treated like a slave, or was he better off still, you know, because he would have been on the street, you know, otherwise. But it's just sad when it goes from, you know, being adored to having it flip, and just like, you know, Kathy was the only one who still cared about him. And so that's one reason why she was such the object of his obsession, because he had no one else in the world that cared that he was still in it.
Nicole, I totally agree. Nature versus nurture. Love that. And then Nicole says, "Do you listen and read along with the classics? I find that really helps." I have started to do that. And I did that with Ola Leroy, and that really helped as well, because in that book, she writes the dialect out so you can see how it sounds. And so having the audiobook just had it flow easier with that. So I like doing that. That's one of the tips that Nicole had given me to start doing.
Yeah, it is
I
helpful.
did.
I agree. And can kind of bring it more to life in your mind sometimes, to have the two options.
Also felt it was looking at discrimination against mixed race people too, just some of
Hmm.
the language used around Heathcliff. Yes, because I thought
Yeah.
that Heathcliff was black. Like, it used the term black a couple of times when talking about how he looked, or they said like dark. They would
Yeah.
use dark a lot, and it did have like racist stuff in there that was being said as well. Just when they
Hmm.
were talking about other people.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I thought, which gives more reason why Kathy was kind of against it, because she knew that that would like make things worse for her.
Hmm.
Because I mean, interracial relationships are hard enough now.
Gosh, yeah.
If you think about it in the 1800s, just with the way that people looked down on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think that he was probably, you know, because of what and they never right out say it, but I think you're right, Nicole, that he probably was mixed race. And I think that, you know, some things were said like that he was considered to be like from like gypsy parents or something like that, which unfortunately back then, like if you were associated at all, even if you wasn't from that, but if you even were thought to be of like the Romani culture, they were so prejudiced against that culture. So yeah, it's interesting that um how she doesn't come right out and say it though. I think it actually leaves more to the imagination of wondering what his background was and who Heathcliff was before he came there. Who were his actual parents? Did he know who his parents were? You know,
'Cause we never really hear about it.
we never
And he's old
know.
enough to have remembered.
Yes, yeah. And
So
so he never when we get his perspective or his point of view, he never looks back. It's like I met Kathy and my life is Kathy from that moment. on. And it's never like even thought of what he was before he came to Wuthering Heights.
And that happened after the dad died.
Or they were put in the workhouse and used as child labor. Yes. That is another horrific thing that happened back then. It's just I still think our culture does not value children as much as they should be valued. Like but a lot of times, but I think that like back then it's just like they were incidental. I'm reading a mystery right now that's just like not that far back, but just like in the late 1930s, and it's just like children were sent to their nursery for meals. It's like they don't,
Oh
it's not,
my.
it's just like children, the value of them is not what it is today. And I feel like we still have work to do on how much we value children. They are humans, they are people, they are not to be used at our convenience, or they're not an inconvenience. They're people, they're little people, but littler than we are as adults, but they're just as valued members of our society. And I think back then it was just like, they're just incidental, and if they're not an heir to you, or can't do something for you, they're just incidental.
And now there's the kind of thing where you look at the children that grew up in Hollywood, and it's like parents getting them to become celebrities basically as children so that they can live off of their wealth.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think she didn't come right out and say it. I think it was to add to the mystery of people.
Yes. Yeah, it certainly did. I think you're right. I think that was her intention, but even if that wasn't her intention, it sure worked.
Yes, we talked about this in
Yes.
the movie when we did the movie live.
Yes. That I was like, shocked, because I was actually just doing audio at that part, and when that came out, I was just like, oh my gosh,
I was like, did someone like modernize this?
No, I don't know, but you would think that back then that must have been
I would have
a really bad word.
A man writing it, but not a woman, because for a woman to be published at all was so rare. So then to have a woman write something with characters that act like this.
Yeah.
And then, the possible incest in the book, and then also using the S word.
Yeah. No, and I'm glad that they didn't come right out. But I don't remember. I bet I had they took it out of my high school book. I had a very classical education, but it was somewhat conservative in its approach. We read a lot of classics, read a lot of Shakespeare, but some of the books that I read in college would have definitely not been given to us to read.
Catherine, you disappeared for 3 years and never even thought of me, Heathcliff. And now I'm running away with your sister-in-law and destroying your husband's life. See, at least I'm consistent.
Edgar was such a victim in this, like just such an innocent victim. And Isabel she was to an extent, but she was warned. But Edgar, he just was, I feel like he was just so innocent in this and was so like patient and understanding. And it's just too bad that he couldn't get like a nice love story. I guess he not romantic, but he did get his great love of his life was his daughter. That's kind of what he ended up living for when she was born, and Catherine number 1 died. But yeah, it's just sad that like he deserved a good love story and he didn't get it.
It was nice. It's kind of like when I read Pride and Prejudice, I was like, why is everyone root for Mr. Darcy? I like Mr. Bingley.
I do like
really
Mr. Bingley too.
flipping this one like it's so romantic.
I
It's
think now, but question, do you like the enemies to lovers trope in general, or do you
I
typically,
do. I love it.
because I think
like the
that
ones with a
is
lot of
like,
substance.
that's kind of like an enemies to lovers trope.
It made sense to me why Darcy liked her because there was context within the story. There was personality traits that you got to observe. But when it came to her being all over Mr. Darcy, there was no context. So it's basically
Yeah.
like, oh, now I know you're not a horrible person. Therefore, I'm in love with you. Let's get married. And I'm like, what?
Yes.
Like, there's got to be some in between here. But back then, I mean, if you're just kind of like forced to get married off as soon as possible, or you're going to
Yeah.
become an ostracized spinster, that is
Yes.
kind of your only criteria is okay, is it a man that's not going to beat me up?
The choice was just not, I look like I have two heads and one of them is a dog head. The choice was just not there for women back then. I mean, she took her independence a little bit more than I think most women would have at that stage. But like Catherine, to go back to Wuthering Heights, was such an independent spirit, and yet she caved to the class system and what society's expectations, and her fear of being poor, I think, really affected that decision. I think, all of us have a little bit of that fear in of us, of just being destitute, at least I know I have before. But it's just like back then, it's not like, oh, as Americans, we know that it's hard to get out of some circumstance you may be born into, but we can, work really hard, maybe get some college scholarships, go or even earn a trade, go to trade school. And
And not
my,
everyone knows
my
your
husband's
social
cracking me up because
situation
he's
just by
running
looking at you.
past me in the background. All right, go back to work. But yeah, it's one of those things that it's just like there was no escape from your class back then. And Heathcliff made his money by doing probably nefarious bad things. And so it wasn't like he could have just gone and been like, okay, I'm gonna go apply at the bank and see if I can get a teller job and work myself up to, a vice president or something like that. That happens now. That could not have happened back then. So he earned his money by gambling and doing, not so nice things to other people to get his money. And that was, it's sad that that's like the only way he could kind of get out of his circumstances was to, gamble against someone, their house away from them. Not that he was an innocent person in the story, but just there's so much crazy that happened there.
Lockwood and Wuthering Heights to-do list, nothing. Because he's at the beginning of the story, and his only purpose to be there is so that Nellie
Is
can tell him
to
the
facilitate story. Nellie.
And Nellie's only
Did
purpose
you think he was a little bit of an idiot? Like, okay, so he goes to visit, Heathcliff and whatever, and he clearly does not seek, it does not get a very warm welcome. And what does he do? The next day is getting ready to have a snowstorm, and he'd already not received a very warm welcome the day before. And yet he like tramps back up there, and it's not like it's like their next door to each other like neighbors are nowadays. He had to like ride a horse over there or something to get there. And like, you didn't get a very warm welcome yesterday. What are you doing coming back 2 days in a row? I don't know. What'd you think of that?
Yeah. He just was very demanding, considering he didn't even like say he was coming. He's just like, hi.
Yeah. Now back then, except for like Heathcliff was not a sociable person, it was like, you didn't have television. Wuthering Heights probably did, they had some books there, but there wasn't a huge library like there probably would have been at the place that Lockwood was a tenant at, the Edgar's Manor or whatever. I'm sure had an extensive library, but it's like there wasn't much to do back then. So like when people would, and you would have your house ready for company at all times. Whereas like if you show up at my house at 2 o'clock in the middle of a weekday, you're
I am
gonna
at the
you're
end.
gonna walk you're gonna walk on some Legos if you come in my house. I'll put it that way. It's like we have to pick the Legos up for the company to come over. So it was just a different era. Like they had the calling cards or whatever that back then. It's just such a different thing nowadays. We're not ready for company all the time, and even when I was like a younger child, it would have been more common for your neighbor to maybe knock on the door and you just like hang out or something like that. But it's like in 2022, and COVID's made it even more so. It's like you don't just show up at someone's
I moved
house.
into this new house and I introduced myself to the neighbors and stuff, but everyone is so reclusive.
Really.
And I was like, I'm going to be here for at least like 10, 15 years. I thought that it would change if you moved into a permanent spot.
Yeah.
Because, when I was growing up, you move in somewhere, people bring you like baked goods. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
here it's like, no. And I live in a small town out in the middle of nowhere. So if anywhere would be the whole keep your door unlocked, everybody knows
Yeah.
everybody. But nope.
Yeah. My neighbors are pretty friendly. Like you say hi, and if you're doing yard work, you chat. But it's not like we had a very special situation a few years ago and I'd known this one family from different. We're in a suburb of a bigger city. So I'd known them from like story time at the library and stuff like that. They had kids, our kids' age, and it was like they lived at each other's house, and it was like going back to like the 1980s there for a while, where you trusted this family and they trusted me, and it's like it was the only time I've ever experienced something like that, and it was so lovely. But at the same time, we had enough restraint to know, okay, my kids have been over there enough. Let them have their family time, and we'll have our family time now. And it was just so nice to find that balance with someone. I don't know if it'll ever happen again. They were a military family, so it was only for a year and a half, but it was nice. But also it was one of those things, we developed a relationship where my house doesn't have to be clean when you come over. And that you don't always get to that level with people.
I had a friend that lived on the corner of a street, and so if you walked into my backyard, you could see her house. And so our moms worked together. Our dads had been friends in high school, and we were best friends. And she was the only child. And so a lot of the times after school, instead of us getting dropped off, we would just decide whose house we were going to for that afternoon, like who had the good snacks that day. So you would go there. And like our parents weren't home, so it was just us kids. But it'd be me, her, my sister. We would all just hang out. And then of course we had our parents' work phone if anything went wrong that we needed to call. And but yeah, and I would spend the night over there, sometimes 3 nights in a row.
Yeah.
So, and her dad was always gone because he did like truck driving, stuff like that. My dad had also been doing truck driving. So we'd just be like, we're going to be over here for like 3 nights. And then, of course, you'd get the call like, okay, you've been over, don't want to wear out your welcome. You got to come over. But I'm sure it's kind of like that back then, too, because the same thing. Kathy comes over there. She's looking through like a peeping Tom. Yeah. And they invite her to stay.
Yeah, but
a wedding proposal out of it.
Until they weren't going to be welcoming her until they realized who she was. That she was the daughter of someone that was a landowner. But Heathcliff was not even welcome to make sure she was okay or stay with her or anything like that. It was very interesting how it's just like nowadays, like I would hope it's like, oh, children that probably need some help. Let's bring them in and send someone, to, make sure that they know that they're taken care of. Whereas like, I don't care what happens to this kid because they're not the child of a landowner. It's just Just such a class distinction.
Back to the S word being used. Don't forget that this was published under E. Bell, not Emily Bronte. Yeah,
Hmm.
because I think a woman saying that, people would have been like,
Yeah.
even just a woman writing, period, was like so taboo.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Mr. Darcy is a douche.
He is.
I guess that is where the saying come from, your lot in life. That is a very much a classic thing. Yeah, I never thought of
Class
that, but
thing.
that is
Yeah.
definitely makes a lot of sense. There was a 4-mile distance, and winter, it seems like a huge distance. Ooh,
Yeah.
they walked 4 miles to go peep and Tom at that rich person's house. You know, that would have been like a 2-hour walk
Can you imagine,
on
like,
a good day.
it's like, nowadays, like, we're such helicopter, parents, but of course, her parents were gone at this point. It's just like, you don't let your kid go 2 blocks by themselves. It's just like such a different world. It's like they're traipsing 4 miles, away from home and nobody knows where they
But
are.
the houses are so spaced apart, that might be the closest neighbor. Like,
Yeah.
you don't
I
really
think it
know.
was their closest neighbor. Um, yeah. And again, like
No
Mr.
wonder why
Lock,
there was
Mr.
incest.
Lockwood at the beginning is like, oh, I'm going to traipse 4 miles when it's probably going to snow.
Oh, man. Oh, it's like, yeah, Heathcliff didn't have any options for women, apparently. That's why he was attracted to his possible sister.
Yeah. Things that make you go,
Oh,
eek.
man. I never ever thought that happened in real life bringing baked goods when you move. Yes, it definitely did. Um,
Yeah.
I had a funny one time. I was in 8th grade, and so there was a guy that his family had a little bit of land behind the house that we were renting. They had horses and stuff like that. There was like he was like one of like 8 kids. And so they had a really big family. We had been living there for a whole month, and every once in a while they would come down on their horses to the fence when me and my sister were out in the backyard and we would talk. Well, they had a son that was like my age. So he liked me. So we were just kind of like, talking or whatever. And then like a month after I'd lived there, a month after I'd lived there now, not the week, a month later, he brings me a thing of brownies as
Aw,
as an
that's
excuse to
cute.
see me, but he says that it's a welcome home, like welcome gift.
That's
And then
sweet.
his sister was like, "Yeah, he's never baked anybody brownies before." I'm sure they were a little bit burnt. And I was like, "It's fine." And then I had a neighbor, the last place that we lived, which was like a duplex, but it actually was a triplex. There was 3 of us.
Yeah.
And she made me like muffins in the shape of hearts. And they were really
How
good, like
cute.
strawberry muffins. It was so delicious. So when I moved here, I thought that was the treatment I was going to get, but apparently not.
Yeah.
And my neighbors are around the same age. Like the ones might be in their mid 40s, but like that's not that big of an age gap.
Yeah.
So, we're all still pretty young. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like you'd think we would talk, but no,
Yeah.
not
We,
happening.
we have very neighborly next door neighbor who just like she was getting rid of her outdoor patio set. Do you want it? And just this nice outdoor patio set. She gave it to us for free, and there's definitely like borrowing of tools back and forth. And I think that's the benefit of you know, somewhat small town
Now
living
we
now.
do have some kids that are like preteens. They're probably like between 10 and 12.
Uh-huh.
And they have a 4-wheeler and they always try to sell us cartons of eggs.
How cute is that? That's
I'm
funny.
like, I don't know how old these eggs are.
Yes.
I'm not gonna risk it. Sorry. But like
Yes.
you have people like the neighbors that are beside me, they have chickens in their front yard.
How crazy.
Like a
That's
pen of
funny.
chickens in the front yard. and they've got like white plastic all around their porch. I think they keep like the baby chicks in there or something. I don't know what
Aw.
they're doing. They're utilizing their yard for all these animals. So we got like a little farm going on beside us. And then we've got um there are cows in the backyard from that person's land. They have a lot of land that's cows, which is great because that means nothing's going to be built there and we're always going to have the view of these cows. And then they also have a horse, so I get to see a horse if I go outside. And then there's sheep, and then, so there's like all kinds of animals that you get to see over here. I
That's
think one
awesome.
person's got a donkey, like it's, and this is all on my street. So when I say we live out in the middle of nowhere, I mean we live in the middle of nowhere.
We're lucky. We're in like new construction neighborhood. Not our house isn't new, but they're still building in different parts of the neighborhood. But our street dead ends into a farm, so we have like, the freedom of having our own, you know, house or whatever, but it's right next to a farm. I wish you could see the people that keep coming by and sticking their tongue out at me and dancing crazy just to try to see if they can make me laugh while on camera.
Nicole says, right up until I left, people always had to call ahead before they could visit or leave a note in the letterbox. I never had anyone do the mailbox thing, but definitely the calling ahead is normal.
Yes, call ahead. Yeah. I think even
Sometimes the answer will be no.
I think it's nice, or even for close family to call ahead. It's not absolutely necessary, but it's just like,
Oh no, I tell them, do not come to my house unannounced. I will not let you in. If the house is dirty, you're not coming in. Because I'm the woman, and so it's like there's still the whole societal expectation that if the house is a wreck, it's never the man's fault. It's always the woman's fault. And so I'm like, I don't want no judgment. Ain't nobody coming over here unless it's acceptable. But anyway, Nicole says, and it was another reason back then that children were delegated to their rooms for food, study, etc. Children should be seen and not heard was a big English thing, and also here in Australia.
I mean, I think it was even, in the United States as well. Except, there were, the whole pioneer thing, like Little House on the Prairie and everything. A lot of people, when they were settling in different parts of America, there was like the one room home mentality, which I think is what started having families be just a little bit closer. And because a lot of times, even some of the wealthier people would head west as well. And they always started off with just one room. And I think that's part of what made, in the United States, families start to be, allow children a little bit more into their lives. So yeah, it's interesting. And it's just so hard to believe, that children seen and not heard was a thing.
Ours was mostly on like any kind of big family gathering where you have multiple families coming to one place. Then it would be like, okay, you have the kids table when it comes to eating. So it's like, if you're not married, you're at the kids table.
Yes.
And then afterward, it's like, go entertain them all in the backyard or something. Like, y'all go babysit.
Yeah, I know. Which is
the adults will hang out in the living room or on the porch. Y'all go be quiet somewhere.
Which, if you think about it, is really not kind, because it's making a statement that if you're single, that is less than being a married person, which is just not, first of all, absolutely not true.
Well, I just mean, like, I just say that because there wasn't a particular age.
Oh, so okay.
When, if there's limited amount of space, that's kind of the clear indicator of whether you're going to be at the adult table or not. But also, we all got married young. So, like, my mom got married at 16. I got married at 19. My sister got married at 19 or 20. Maybe 19, maybe 18. I don't know. She got married young. My mom's sisters, they all got married before they turned 20. Like we all very young. Even
Yeah.
my brother got married. And so he's like 23 now and they have their fourth one on the way.
Oh
So
wow.
married and kids right away. I was like, I've been married since 2009. There are no kids on the way right now. We waiting a little bit longer.
We were married for 8 years before we had kids because I pretty much knew I would like to, stay home with them. And I wanted to, getting married young, I wanted career things
Yes.
to happen first. And so that, go into having kids with no regrets or whatever. But yeah, we did
I
not.
just know it takes being completely unselfish to be a parent and to be a good one because
Yeah.
you have to give everything to your kids and you have to make personal sacrifices for their happiness. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm too selfish for that right now. So
Yeah. And that, you know, that ties into Wuthering Heights because it's just like Heathcliff as a parent
oh gosh,
clearly
no.
failed in every regard. And, as
Abusive, emotionally, physically,
and
manipulative, just horrible.
and
I wonder if the guy even had an illness like the kid. I really wonder. Maybe he just told him that he was sick. You know what I mean? With like how
yeah,
manipulative that whole situation was. I'm just like, I don't even know if he actually had anything or if it was all made up just to get
yeah.
Kathy to come over and sympathize.
You know what's interesting? When I was young, I felt like Kathy was actually a little bit in love with Lint, Lintley. I'm Linton.
Yes, because in the book, it seems like she does really like him.
But
She got to spend time there.
but now that I'm a little older, I'm thinking it was more like a misplaced compassion. Like she knew that it was like her family and that she was concerned for him. So I feel like now as a reading it as an older adult, I see it differently, and I think she not wasn't necessarily having romantic feelings as strong for him. That she more cared about his welfare, and it was like he was almost her project. It's like where she put her energy and her affection when it wasn't directed towards her father. I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think it was a romance in any way? Or do you think it was just on Kathy's part, it was clearly she cared about him. On his part, it was clearly like I am being manipulated and I'm terrified and I've got a very weak personality. And so I'm just gonna marry you because I'm afraid my father is going to hurt and abuse me.
It took me a second to understand that you were talking about the younger Kathy.
Yes.
I
Yes.
thought you
Sorry.
were talking about Kathy and Cleveland.
Sorry. And that's
Heathcliff, and
one
I got
thing that makes it
confused.
so confusing. Young Kathy, you know,
Yeah, I mean, I think that with that one, she really didn't know anybody else.
yeah,
Like the only person we ever see her with is him. So it's like if you never see anyone your age,
yeah.
but also I think she was manipulated into the marriage just as much. She was just like, okay, I'll do it just so that,
You let
I
me
can
go
go
home
back and
and
see my
see
dad.
my dying
Yeah.
father before he dies.
So I don't know. I don't think either one of them actually loved each other in that way. I think that they were friends, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that there was any romantic chemistry going on
Yeah.
between them. Cole says, yeah, I don't think Kathy loved Linton. She was more concerned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's really sad to think like they had, and it was different back then, where, even when you are out in the middle of nowhere, it's like you have, go to like the store or something like that. They didn't have exposure to other children. It's like, so you're just going to marry your relative no matter what. So, um, yeah, it was a bizarre situation.
I agree with Nicole here. I think she saw him as someone to protect. So
Yeah.
it's almost like she was motherly to him in a way.
Yeah, because she had been nurtured. I don't think any of the other children had particularly been nurtured, but she had been nurtured by her father and by Nellie. She'd had love and protection and a good life in many ways up to the point where Heathcliff tried to ruin it. So she knew how to care for others because it had been modeled for her.
The gif I have up here is Isabel after Heathcliff hurls a knife at her in Wuthering Heights. Oh, he's so gorgeous. In the movie, it just made her seem completely stupid because, like, she's not only just aware that there's the infatuation between Heathcliff and Kathy, but
Yeah.
like, she sees it and like he's abusive in front of her and like abusive with her, and she's still just like head over heels.
Yeah. Some ladies just can't help but go for the bad guy.
Heathcliff's entire personality. I just decided being sad is a waste of time. You see, a more productive use of my time is revenge. Because that's all he did with his whole life was find out how he could get revenge on Kathy. So he has this son, I guess, with Kathy's husband's sister.
Yeah.
So they have this son, and then he manipulates the situation to get the son and Kathy together to get them married. So then when the dad dies, the son inherits all of the wealth. And his whole life was just trying to get revenge on everybody, including Kathy, because I mean, like, it's not real love if you're just like, oh, I'm scorned, so I'm gonna make your life horrible.
Yeah.
Let me try to steal you away from your husband. Like,
yeah.
What if Wuthering Heights was a romance between Heathcliff and Payne? I think that this is an accurate description of what the book was.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if you really did love her that much, and if she loves you too, then yeah, she should just leave her husband now that you're back, and y'all go off on your merry way. But it's like, nope. So that was all of the memes. Is there anything else that y'all would like to discuss about the book? Because I know you've got things to do. Let me see here. I think we already looked at that one. Yeah. Young Kathy doesn't feel in love, especially when she realizes he was so whiny and with a bad disposition.
Yeah. He was just a very weak personality, just a weak person. Obviously, physically, he wasn't well, but like just weak in his resolve.
When he wouldn't let her go to see her dad after they had got married, he was like, oh, but my dad says you're this, this, and this.
Yes. That he should have known better. It's like, so you're listening to this person who has told you this whole time that he's going to hurt you if you don't marry her. And now you're believing him over this person who's been nothing but good to you and tried to protect you. It's just like, what is wrong?
Nellie's having to knock sense into him and be like, why are you? So at least Nellie got to be like,
God for Nellie. She's the only one that like had a strong moral compass in the entire book. Kathy, and Edgar did, but he was kind of clueless. Nellie understood what was going on in everybody's story and her life, and she still always made the right decision and wanted the best, for the young ones.
Even if people didn't listen to her.
Yeah.
And young Kathy could be a bit of a brat toward Nellie too, because Nellie would tell her, like, your father doesn't like this. And Nellie knew that Heathcliff would be manipulative.
Yeah.
And so he tried to keep her away from him, but she didn't listen. So
yeah, she snuck off. But she had such little life experience at that point. And again,
because you're talking about children, like I kind of pictured them as like 10-year-olds. Who knows how old they were? Like with the whole book, they could have been really, really young.
And again, it highlights
they're probably teenagers when they got
the nurture versus nature again, shows the other side of the coin.
I do love reading about a bad guy, not so much in life.
Yeah.
I like the Count of Monte Cristo revenge plot, but I felt like there was more reasons for the revenge.
Yeah.
This one, it was like you made things this way. Like if you had overheard Kathy saying that she didn't think she could ever marry you, you could have had a conversation with her and been like, "Well, why is that? Is there something that I can do to change your mind about it? This is how I feel." And then they could have either resolved it with communication and been on their merry way, or they could have had their happy ever after. But instead, he's like,
Mhm.
"No, I'm just going to disappear for several years and let you mourn me, and then I'm going to come back and force
Yeah.
my way into your life." And it's like, what?
I don't think that their relationship was ever necessarily a healthy one, even as kids. I think it was always sort of toxic relationship. And so when that, it's so funny because, like, in real life, if you grow up with someone, you're most likely not going to be romantically attracted to them because you know them too well. You've grown up as like siblings. But I don't know, for some reason I do always kind of enjoy the trope of like growing up together, and um as long as it actually isn't real siblings, because
Friends to lovers.
friends to lovers. It is, yeah. um I don't know if do you read Cassandra Clare, like the Dark Artifices series? I love that. Like, they grow up together and they're best friends, and then it turned into a romance. But this was always a toxic relationship, even when they were children. It was an obsession instead of a I love you and I want the best for you. It was an obsession, and obsessions are not healthy for a long-term relationship, because you're never going to be able to hold on to that ideal of the image that you've created in your head with someone you're obsessed with. It just doesn't happen.
In the movie, in the beginning, until he threw her up against the barn wall. And then I was like, oh, hell no.
I think that I was hoping for the best for Heathcliff, up into the point that he manipulated Isabel so much and started being like an abusive husband. And at that point, I think in all my readings about, I was just done with him, just done. I just was ready for him to just die. I know that sounds terrible, but
I agree. This book really does highlight toxicity in relationships and damaging it can be to all involved, which is why I don't get why so many people think of this as like the epitome of romance. I'm like, why?
I don't understand it either. Um, Now I can understand, like, there's something about a forbidden love that makes us interested, but at the end of the day, that's not what the story is teaching us. That's not what the theme is.
I also got the impression that Heathcliff, toward the end of his life, when he was talking about Catherine haunting his thoughts, I felt he was starting to feel a little remorse. What are your thoughts? I think he tried to get his vengeance, and then when he physically attacked young Catherine and it didn't bring him any joy, he was like, "Oh, now that I've fulfilled my vengeance plot, I can't get any more out of living to destroy other people's lives. I'll end mine." So he starves himself to
Yeah.
death.
Yeah. And in his,
Catherine's grave.
I think in his mind, young Catherine was the murderer of her mother because she died right after giving birth to her. So he associates her not only with her father, Edgar, which he sees as his enemy, but also as the instrument in his mind of her death. Now, she was not taking care of herself during her pregnancy. She was, not eating like any, I don't even know how, like,
Because I
young
thought
Catherine
she was starved
survived.
to death.
I don't even
I
know how
didn't
young
even know she
Catherine
had given
survived.
birth to young Kathy.
I know. Well, and that was another intentional, like, let's be vague about this thing, because it's like she's just sick because she's dying of a broken heart. Then, oh, she had a baby. It was like one of those things. It's like the first time I read it, I was like, what? And go back and flip through. Did they say anything about this? No. And the movie, I feel like they kind of ruined it talking about it a little bit too much. Whereas like, it's like, it is kind of a shock. It's like the first time we read it, it's like, oh my gosh, she just had a child. And it was almost the same with Isabella. It's like, oh, she had a baby. So these babies just appeared. Like, we don't really get the.
Yeah, because I thought that Heathcliff like went there again, like his dad did, and just like randomly found this ailing child and brought him back. That's what I thought happened.
Yeah.
I'm so confused during some of the book. Yeah, I know. I was like, wait, what did I miss?
Yeah, and she did that I think she did that on purpose. So we would just be like, oh my gosh,
'Cause I thought she was going back in time to show Heathcliff and Kathy growing up. And I was like, I don't remember Heathcliff like being sick.
What's interesting? Like, so many like famous books, like people will modernize, like modern writers will do like prequels, like where you can see more things like that. I don't think anybody has done that with Wuthering Heights. I don't, because even like Anne of Green Gables, I have it on my Kindle. I haven't read it yet. Somebody did Marilla of Green Gables, like see her, adopted mother's backstory, which is interesting. A lot of times not executed well, but I find it interesting that nobody's tried to really touch this one or do like a story where we see what happens once young Kathy and Henley get married. It's something no one has really touched, but like a lot of the others, like for Jane Austen, there are so many retellings, and Jane Eyre, there's so many retellings, and nobody's really touched Wuthering Heights, which I find is interesting. Why do you think that is?
They didn't want to read the source material again.
They're like, I'm gonna leave that alone.
Oh man. Oh, speaking of Anne of Green Gables, that is going to be our pick for. I signed it to one of these months. Did I not? I thought I did.
Well, that is the book that made me a reader, is Anne of Green Gables.
November.
Well, that's my birthday month. So
yeah, if you want to come host on that, I don't have
that'd
any.
be fun. Let's put that in. I would love to do that, because that is my heart and soul is in Anne of Green Gables. That just like I felt like a little girl that had such an imagination. We're almost done. I'll cook dinner here in a minute. Everybody's hungry at my house.
Yes. There's the baby now. Oh, oops. There's the baby now. Anne of Green Gables is my fave. Would you like to be a co-host, Nicole, for November? Let me know, because I don't have nobody. Oh, look. Can I host with you? Yes, of course.
Yay! That'll be fun.
Okay,
the
so
three of us.
Well.
And definitely we have movies to see for that one.
Show Anne with an E.
See, okay, I'm older than you, so I cannot cheat on Megan Follow's version. I have not even watched it, because in my mind, because I accidentally saw the movie on Disney Channel when I was a kid before I even read the book, and I fell in love with the movie first, and then I read all the books, and they're different in so many ways, but yeah.
I love Gilbert so much.
That was my, yes. I love Gilbert a lot too.
That's going to be fun. Yes, I am so excited. Oh. It's like Nicole in November. I guess.
Yay!
I'm excited because I really loved the show, Anne with an E.
Well, I'll need to watch that before
it was canceled.
We get to that point.
I wanted to see them into adulthood and everything.
I'm not really happy with Netflix right now. Cancel things like that. They canceled Julie and the Phantom, so I'm just Netflix.
Getting rid of all
but they make really cute Christmas movies, I must say.
They have done a lot of Christmas movies for 2022. I was like, these are all Netflix originals.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, my children are literally going feral at my house. I don't know if you can
say. I think this is it.
I don't know if you can hear them in the background, but I mean, I'm afraid to go open my boys' door right now. I think their room is going to be torn to pieces. This was so much fun, though. Thank you for inviting me.
Posted. Kelly, I am like, you only love Megan, but Anne with an E is pretty good. I think you'll
okay. I'll try. I will give it a go.
It's very, very good. But yeah, I guess that's all, everybody.
All
so
right.
don't forget to go check out Kelly's channel. I think all of y'all are already subscribed.
We're all buddies, I think. So my BookTube besties here.
But yeah, and I will see y'all again on the 31st, which is going to be a Saturday at 11 a.m. here. I'm doing the final sprint for the Holiday Havoc-a-thon. So, and I figured we would do like talking about stuff that we're planning for New Year's goals, all that sort of thing. I might do some sort of pop-up live show just to chit chat with everybody after Christmas. So I might show off my Christmas gifts and then kind of come up with goals, maybe talk about the direction of the channel and have y'all kind of give input during that live show. So just look out for it. I'll try to schedule something so you know it's coming. Thanks for sharing a coffee with me this morning. You're welcome. I had grape soda.
I had black tea with some cinnamon and cardamom in it.
Oh man,
that is 1 a.m. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're with us at 1 a.m. At 1 a.m. I'm gonna be gone.
Yeah, it's 5:30.
5:30 here, and so thank you for living the same time zone as me. That's very convenient, Heather. I appreciate it.
I was like, I'd rather do this early and then you can chill for the rest of the night. Because anytime there's a social situation like this, I need 2 hours to detox afterward to wind.
I think a lot of us booktubers are probably introverts.
Actual introverts.
Yeah, I am too.
Like I'm an extroverted introvert. I can be extroverted.
Yes.
But afterward, I gotta crash. I'm gonna go watch Meghan Markle.
Well, you have a wonderful Friday. Happy holidays, everybody.
It was so nice getting to meet you in person.
I know, it is fun. I appreciate you doing this because it's like we get to chat in real life almost. So
yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks for coming.